Welcome everyone to the Prescott BIA Board of Management meeting for September 13th, 2022. I will call the meeting to order. We'll look at the approval of the agenda. Could I have a motion that the agenda be accepted as presented? Could I have a mover? Linda?
Yep.
Seconder? Kevin? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any declarations of interest tonight? No? Okay, none. So we'll move along to delegations, presentations. There are none. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes of the previous meeting? I just see one amendment to remove the financial statement. It was financial report number 7. Can remove that from. So I'll make a motion that the minutes as amended dated July the 12th, 2022 be accepted as presented. Can I have a mover? Jeannie, and a seconder? Linda? All in favor?
Aye.
Next, we have the financial report.
So things look very positive at this point in time. The 2022 budget was 29,000 in terms of levies. We were up by 29,067. The coordinator, Justin, $10,000 we had budgeted. We're at 71,300. I just had a caveat that maybe we should talk about that in terms of how many hours we actually have left, just because we do have a lot of things that we're looking forward to within the fall and the winter season. Marketing and promotion, we're right online. Budget was 9,000, we're at 7243. Physical improvements, we were at 10,000, we're at 11,500, but we made some decisions to actually look at beautification that's going to be helping us in the longer term. And our reserves are sitting at 15,000 for the Parquet and 5,000 for the Amos shed.
Thanks, Linda. Does anybody have any questions? No?
We should also address the commitment level for the year, I think here. Maybe discuss that.
Right.
What's committed for the year so far. Want me to pull that up?
Sure.
Seven, 8, 10. So I'm just going to quickly pull up. That has the July report numbers on it, but it has the commitments for 2022 on here as well. So this has been what's been committed by the BIA thus far. So putting in the number of the full allocation for the coordinator for the year. We essentially committed 28,993 from the year-over-year budget, which would be the full BIA levy for the year. But at the same time, after those commitments that you've made from the financial reserves that Belinda just mentioned, you have a balance in there of $32,297 remaining in the reserve account as well. So you're fully committed from that levy amount, but you could reallocate, for example, some of those physical improvements, lighting, the fixed costs from the promenade, for the purchasing of fixtures. You could reallocate that to some of that to reserves if you wanted to find some funds in the year-over-year budget for, say, the fall events and the Christmas events. You could do that during the motions for those particular allocations, or look at a motion to allocate some of that amount over there now into the reserves.
And the other thing I was wondering about is where we're at in terms of timeline for the commitment for the Parquet. Is that something that's going to come out here, or would that maybe be a 2023 item?
So the
Clock tower one could definitely be deferred to
Okay.
2023. Timing wise, we wouldn't have those expenses out the door. The 2 parking space ones would be expensed this fall, but yeah, that's a very good point. It's
Okay.
certainly an option for you. And I think that was that a 5,000?
That was 15.
15,000.
Oh, that was a huge one. Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Okay, sorry, I'm getting that one confused with the promenade. Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, so that would certainly free up, I think, budget to the
Well,
remainder.
Yeah, and that's entirely from the reserves, that allocation.
Yep.
Oh, that was reserves already, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
But I was just thinking in terms of moving
yeah.
things
And then
around.
it would give you an opportunity
Yeah.
to pull from reserves without completely depleting it. Right?
Mhm.
And then the other thing we have to think about is what do we want to spend on fall and Christmas, right?
Exactly. And
Like say we had, like if we're $1,500 over and it's,
exactly.
is that 1,500 going to carry us through for the rest of the year? And then we could simply reallocate part of that promenade funding or part of the lighting, the 9,000, because I think when we made that motion for the lighting, we said up to 9,000, but if we had to, we could draw some from reserve. So I think that's the way that motion read. So we could also reallocate there. So I think maybe we should think about what we want to spend for the rest of the year.
Agreed.
Does any,
Do that now as part of
Sure.
this discussion.
sure. Anybody have any comments, suggestions? What did we spend last year on Christmas? That might be the starting point.
Last year, Christmas was an anomaly, though.
We did do the passport last year. It
Yes.
ended up being fairly significant. I believe it was about $1,000 or $1,500 was allocated to that.
Okay. And another item we have to look at for Christmas this year is the Santa Claus parade is going to be going ahead. And we traditionally give $500 as a donation. So we'll have to consider that as well. So that might bring us up to the 2,500 that we have for the promenade.
Yep.
Right?
And
So what if we made it simple and just reallocated the 2,500 for the promenade?
Towards Christmas?
20, yeah. What if we did that?
that would be the 2,500 going to the reserves and
Yeah,
going to the reserve.
yeah. What's everybody think about that? Just to keep it simple. Do you think 2,500 is good for the balance of the year? And then we still have some money for the coordinator. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. What do you think, Pearl?
Yeah, no, I agree. That's good.
Okay.
Yeah, as long as we have a little something there to work with, yeah.
Yeah.
And if you do need to down the road, because we are, like, I would say there are some unknowns for Christmas still, and we've been having some pretty good discussions just, here at Town Hall with Justin, Elizabeth, about, maybe something a little bit more elevated this year. Not to say that there's any requirement for the BIA to contribute to that, but I think there could be an opportunity maybe to allocate, some additional budget depending on what we come up with. I think we'll have some recommendations coming after the fall harvest festival and
Okay.
at least have some ideas to bring forward to spark some conversation. Thinking something in relation to the pop-ups, like a Christmas village, just to kind of.
Reindeer.
Does anybody else have any comments, suggestions?
Just a question concerning the Santa parade. When is it? Is it set yet?
Yeah.
Date?
Yeah, they have a date.
November.
18th?
It's about the 17th.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's around the 17th, 18th. Yeah.
November?
So if we make the $500 donation, that will leave us 2,000. I think that's good, everybody?
Yeah.
Yep, agreed.
Okay, so I guess we'll need to make a motion that we reallocate $2,500 for the promenade under marketing and promotion, that we reallocate that to reserves.
So I would like to make a motion that we reallocate the $2,500 to promenade to reserves at this point in time.
Can I have mover, Kevin, seconder, Jeannie, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's good. And then financial report, we'll make a motion that the financial report be accepted as presented with the amendments that we discussed.
I would like to make a motion that we accept the financial report with the amendments as presented.
Mover Jeannie, seconder Kevin, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, next committee reports. Justin, promotions committee?
So the promotions committee, and that was quite a while ago now, we discussed the idea of the fall promotions and what would be done for that this year. I have a little bit of a presentation on that in my coordinator update. I can go through there, but we discussed the idea of a harvest festival associated with the last farmers market of the year and the week leading up in there. So we can look at that in those slides.
Okay, so we'll wait till, okay. The beautification committee, we did not have a meeting. Recruitment committee, we did not have a meeting. So that goes to the staff updates. Justin, your coordinator report.
So I am going to start first with a little bit of fun. As I'm sure everyone knows, we installed those pole wraps, I believe, last summer downtown that direct to different shop local and tourism spots. And in August, Elizabeth put together a TikTok to help people know how to use them, and just kind of play that there now. No, that's the one that goes to the shop local page, but so that went up across Facebook, Instagram, originally on TikTok, just to sort of demonstrate to people how those work. And they are on, I believe, about 12 poles downtown. So people can check out, get to the websites when they're downtown and find some of the things that are going on. If you don't follow our TikTok, you very much should, because it's fun.
Is there music with that?
There is.
You're upselling it. Just.
There's a little lackluster there. No.
It's gonna be whatever was trending on TikTok.
Yes.
And then on the summer passport final report, we concluded that on August 31st. We did the grand prize draw, I believe, on September the 2nd. It was live streamed. We ended up with, I would say, nearly 500 completed passports over the course of the summer.
It's amazing.
Had a number of people at the farmers market that were coming up for stamps, in the museum itself for stamps. There seemed to be a constant run of people coming in.
Great.
There, people looking for where they could go to complete their passport, get their last stamp. So
Oh, that's really good.
that seemed to run fairly well. And the woman who won the final grand prize draw picked her prize up nearly immediately and was pretty excited. The final prize was 500 Prescott dollars along with some Prescott swag.
Wow.
So I think she enjoyed that, and I think it got a lot of circulation. I think the passports seemed to go around quite well. Heard quite a bit of feedback from businesses, including some that don't generally take part in some of these things, that we're quite excited about taking part, and then had some ideas about promotions moving forward that are interesting. And then I'm going, unless anyone has any questions about passport.
No, that's good. I was just going to ask you what kind of feedback you got from the businesses.
We got a lot of positive feedback, and there was a lot of, as I said, we had maybe a handful that hadn't really participated, especially in maybe the Christmas passport or things before, that decided to participate in this. And all seemed to be pretty, very positive, pretty positive about taking part. So that was.
What was the total prize amount like for the whole?
So we did 25 Prescott dollars for each of the 9 weekly draws, and then 500 for the grand prize draw.
I think 750 was the total.
Okay.
Total amount. Yeah. So it was really well received. People love the passports.
Mhm.
Really seem to be, yeah.
People love the passports.
Yeah.
You don't want to overdo the passports,
No.
but
Yeah.
people love
Mhm.
the passports. Did have, I know there was a whole group of women that came up to the market booth there one day in late July, and they were all from out of town, and they were excitedly trying to complete their passport and drop it off before they left. So people were getting around, and it was, I think, really moving people around, especially downtown.
Okay, good.
I had some folks in from Brockville who were doing it, and they thought it was great. You know, so this is being done for people, and just not in Prescott, but for anybody. I had some tourists come in, same thing, and I explained it to them, and they were gone.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I can go do stuff. Yeah, it was great.
Like,
Yeah.
really, we had those same conversations, and once people found out about it, and we, explained that you could fill your passport within 3,
Yeah.
the next hour, just visiting a couple of places, and they were all in.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it was good.
It's good.
Busy summer, tourist wise. I don't know if you guys know.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Dustin's gonna get to that with our visitor center update, but yeah, it was really good to see all the new faces in town.
Mhm.
So I'm going to jump back, well, that's 6 weeks now, since we missed our last meeting, to once this goes here. Here we go. So I know it was a long time ago, but you may recall the August Promenade. We ran it from July 29th to August 1st. Back on, and that was the closure of Edward Street between King Street and Water Street. So I just want to sort of do a quick run through of some of the events that went on that weekend. So on the Friday evening that week, we had a night market through the promenade. We had 10 vendors set up down through there. The number of people that came through that night shopping was extraordinary. I mean, at times it was almost overwhelming. We had our tent set up there selling our tourism swag that we had gotten in, and we sold out the stuff that we took down there and spent most of the night running back and forth between the museum and there to pick up more. So number of people that came through, the feedback from the vendors, this is a little earlier in the evening. The chairs were constantly filled, people coming through there. You could watch people come through, come up from the waterfront, walk through, go for dinner, go back up on King Street. It was just a really good turnout. The vendors were overwhelmingly positive about that, as they were back from the July 1st weekend. On July 30th, we had Llamas with Old Magic Shop. Old Magic Shop took over that day and had a little traditional Llamas festival and vendor event at the promenade. A number of vendors associated with Old Magic came in. They had traditional events, a Llamas altar. They had some tarot readings and psychics, and again, the crowds that went through there on that Saturday were spectacular. On the 31st, we had live music, buskers, and a couple more things down there. We had Amanda Keeley and Isabel Charbonneau, two musicians who come to the farmers market quite often. They played live music right there about halfway down the promenade. Those chairs that we had set up, they were filled a lot of the days with people that were just stopping to listen to the music, that were spending some time there. We also had Fire Guy. Fire Guy is a busker who put on a spectacular show. Really exciting. He's moving to the area this year and really wants to do more events down here. And the crowds that we had come down for Fire Guy and then stay for the music for the other activities was just, again, phenomenal. And that's Mr. Twister there, the balloon twister. He was set up on the 31st and the 1st as well. A little bit more of Fire Guy. Isabel playing on the promenade. And then this is the evening on July 31st. So that night there was one of the Sunday concerts at the amphitheater, and after the Sunday concert, the promenade started to fill up. This is Chalky, our sidewalk chalk artist who made his masterpiece on the promenade over a two and a half day period. And people coming through in the evening, people sitting down, turning on the fire pits that were down there for them to use, filling up that space and staying there quite a while in the evening after the concert ended. On August 1st, we had Art Day. So we had two local artists set up art classes. So people could come down there and drop in art classes. One was a rock painting class, and the other, you could make a, what were they called?
Mosaic.
Yeah, stained glass mosaic. So they each came equipped, I believe, to have 150 people come through, and we're planning for 2 classes from 10 to 12, chalk and series from 10 to 12, and 2 to 4, and both of them were out of supplies by about 2:30 that day. The number of people that came through took part in both of those classes. At the same time, we had Mr. Twister was back there that day. We had henna tattoos. There was face painting on both of those days. Chalky was finishing up his masterpiece, and you just saw a broad assortment of people coming through and just spending quite a bit of time down there. That's the next portion. If anyone has any questions about promenade.
I just had an observation is that I noticed for the art classes, because I was down there with my granddaughters, but it was all ages that were participating.
Yes.
It wasn't just kids. It wasn't like, it was every age.
Yeah.
And I found that really, really great that it appealed to everybody. So if we could get, more events like that, that appeals,
The broad, yeah.
to the broad, it'd be
Yeah.
awesome. And it's all interactive stuff that draws people.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean? Like same with the passport, same with,
Yeah.
as long as they're feeling like they're interacting with the community, you're gonna get that engagement, right? So that's really good.
Watch this cute older couple sitting there painting rocks.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was really fun to see.
And then every day even you could see, like, it really felt like it would hit every demographic, like from one day to the next, there was, to your point, there was something for everyone, right?
Yeah.
So I think over the period of the weekend, I would be, and we should have, if we do get council support for this next year, we're gonna be investing in some pretty sophisticated pedestrian and traffic measurement devices. So we can really get a much better sense of the traffic that's coming in there. But it was amazing. It really was. And a lot of people, I think, that just happened upon it as well, that just happened to be driving through because of the prominent location.
Yep.
You couldn't miss it if you were coming through on number 2 or coming down Edward Street, and you could see the look on people's faces and their vehicles sitting there and pointing to it. And next thing you know, they're going to park and they're coming in, and it was
What about
awesome.
the downtown businesses? Did they feel like that the promenade was helpful for their business?
Yeah.
You probably received a lot more than I
We
did,
did.
but just observing in our observations of it, it was amazing to see, like Justin said, people came from all different directions. It wasn't just from the waterfront. And then once they went through, you could see off, they ventured into the downtown to see what else was there. And, you know, we talked to a lot of the surrounding, I know Old Magic did fantastic. I think Water Girl had a great day.
And well, one thing I can say for certain is that it was the largest single day the museum ever had, was the Saturday of that week.
Okay.
There were 50 people in that day.
Yeah.
And that was also, we had a farmer's market that day, the museum was open, and Old Magic was doing their event at the promenade, and you could see people carrying things from all three spaces going back and forth and just traveling down through there.
And then O'Leary's even mentioned, it really brought a lot of evening traffic into his establishment, people who had been there and maybe never even, you know, realized that O'Leary's, you know, the pub was there. So they came back that evening and no, it was excellent. But to your point, I think Saturday was the best because we had, and that's really what we were thinking, you know, moving forward is what we're striving for is to really create those connections, right? And you know, maybe spill out into something more of that busker style thing where even you have entertainment at a couple different areas that just continues to draw people through the downtown.
Right.
Yeah. It was good.
It's great.
Really, and the feedback that we received from everyone, businesses, you know, the people who attended with their families, elected officials, it's really been positive all around, so.
I just want to thank you two for
Yeah.
everything you did, because you guys basically threw this together and it just came as an idea from here and you guys just kind of ran with it and killed it. So
Definitely.
yeah, thank you.
Well,
Awesome.
I have to say, you know, Justin really deserves, I would say, the majority of the credit. It's easy to come in and, you know, brainstorm these ideas, but for him to take it and actually implement and turn it into, you know, something real and, you know, the marketing that went behind it, it's not just the planning, but just an amazing amount of work and not, you know, the lead up, but on the day of too, you know, running the event and generating content. And that's where Elizabeth has been a huge asset as well. And having her there and, you know, just the whole team approach that we're able to take with these things is, it really feels, you know, like that we're actually able to accomplish and check some of these, get these ideas off of paper and into reality. And this has been one of those big ones. So, you know, certainly thank you for that, but I really deserve very little of that credit and it should certainly go mostly to Justin and with a lot of Elizabeth's support, so.
Bringing in the millennial vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's really,
She's
taken us to a whole other, she really has. It's been amazing to see like the skill set that she brings to the job and the content that she's able to create. It's, you know, it's really fantastic. And I think we've got a real well-rounded team now.
And she would be horrified if you called her.
Send her, I'll send her an email.
Yes. But thank you, and we'll be sure to pass that on.
Does anybody else have any? We're good.
So if you'd like, next up on my slides, I have the stuff from the promotions committee on the Harvest Fest and dive into that. So back at the last promotions committee meeting, we discussed the fall promotion and the discussion led to the idea of a harvest event, Harvest Fest, for early October, concluding on Thanksgiving weekend, similar to last year's turkey trot, but less turkey based and more apple based. Turkey based. So there's sort of three little elements of it. The first is sort of one of the two downtown business elements would be similar to last year, doing a fundraising drive focused on the food bank. We would have the participating BIA businesses that want to participate, collect donations, and they'll have apples that can go up in the clock tower on a little tree in there, like the turkey last year. And then add the apples to the clock tower tree. The second part would be the farmers and crafters market. We'll do something a little bit special for that. That's the last farmers market of the year. Last regular farmers market of the year is October 8th. So for that market, we'll have Harvest Fest. I'm reaching out to some sort of specific harvesty vendors that don't come as often. So I'm trying to find some apple producers, for example, to come in. We'll do another call for vendors specifically for this, as well on social media. And I think we'll probably get a pretty great turnout for that. And I thought that maybe we could do a presentation of the fundraising total to the food bank there that day as well on the stage. So everyone can have some fun with that. And then the third part of it that might require a little bit of that reallocated funding was wanted to do a business window decorating contest that sort of involve everyone in there. So the idea here would be to encourage downtown businesses to decorate their windows on that Harvest Fest theme and do a little bit of a voting for the best window and perhaps have some sort of prize for them for winning that best window. At the promotions committee, the discussion was an idea of maybe an amount for advertising for the business. So the business would have some paid advertising that they would win for having the best Harvest Fest or Fall Fest window display.
We thought it would be a good tie-in with the digital Main Street campaign to offer them some digital focus would be like Facebook, social media ads would be. But we've talked about this a little bit here and there, and maybe getting the businesses a little bit more inspired to decorate their windows around the season, or to coincide with special events, whether it be Shakespeare Festival or some of these other things that we're planning. But yeah, this is kind of the first maybe foray into that, and it's fun. I've seen a lot of these competitions in other communities, and some businesses really take it to heart, and it becomes a really fun competition and has a lot of pride that goes along with it. And yeah, we'll see how this one goes.
Sounds good.
And then dollars, were we looking for specific?
So that would be by and large up to what you think would be a good amount for that. If you're doing it tied into digital Main Street, then something like $250 could be more than appropriate for digital ads. That's
I was thinking,
yeah,
because those Google Boost ads aren't very much.
No, they're
very low cost. And the opportunity to work with Elizabeth to implement them is a little added bonus for her.
Yeah, and then promote that and do a TikTok on it. We did a Google ad, and this is I think that's a great idea. What do you guys think?
How do we determine the winner?
And I would also suggest before we go too far, we would be prepared to match it through the ACT Act. So if we wanted to bump that up and do, we could split it out between first, second, third would be an option too.
So I would, the easiest way to do the voting for the winner would be we would have all the businesses that want to participate and decorate their storefront. We make up a little sign with a QR code on it that we go to a Google form, and you scan it and
make it super easy, so you can just say, okay,
I'm going to vote there on the winner.
Okay.
Also, we use those to give people the option of, for example, on one of the recent ones we did like that, we had our Explore Prescott this summer question, and people could submit that, and we could use what they said in a little series of Facebook posts if they wanted to use that way. So it's a little opportunity to get stuff like that as well.
Can we include a newsletter sign up on that?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
yeah, and there's another chance too to capture them for newsletter subscriptions. Get them in the communication chain.
Does anybody else have anything to add? Nope.
You need a motion for that?
If we had an amount, for sure. If you want to,
For the 250.
do you want to say 250 and
250
then
is pretty good
active
initial,
match 250?
especially if it's getting matched.
Yeah.
Why don't, does 250 sound good, everybody?
Yeah.
And then with Elizabeth's.
Well, and what are the timeframes we're looking at on this?
Pardon?
What are the timeframes? Like, I think we need to have a time frame just because we're, we've got,
Right. So.
we've got fall and then we've got Christmas.
Yeah.
So what are we doing for fall and what are we doing for Christmas?
The event timeframe would be, we would want them to have the windows decorated by the 1st of October, and the conclusion of the event would be October 8th.
So the
Which
judge,
coincides with our fall.
With the Harvest Fest market.
right, so we would judge like between the 1st and the 8th?
Mhm.
Okay. Okay.
That's a good window. Not too long, so people don't forget about it.
So if that's the case, though, when is it gonna go out then to the businesses? Because they obviously need to know before the 1st, right?
No, tomorrow. I'll send an email later to everyone.
Well, that's what, I didn't mean tomorrow, but.
But this week, definitely,
Okay.
yeah.
And then, like, do we maybe take the 250 down a little bit because we're not giving them a bunch of time? Like, what do we really want them to celebrate? Do we want them to celebrate fall or do we want them to celebrate Christmas?
Well, I think they're two very separate events. This is geared to Christmas, fall, and their proceeds, the 250, it doesn't have any timeline. Like, once the contest is over October 8th, that $250 prize money gets issued to the business to then take and purchase, and they would be able to place those ads anytime until, I don't think we would set a time limit on when they have to actually spend their ad dollars.
Oh, no, I wasn't talking about that. I was just thinking, do we want them to really be focusing on their windows for fall and we're not giving them a lot of time? Or do we want to give them a lot of time for Christmas to make something spectacular?
Oh, not do a fall.
No, I think do a fall, but maybe not $250. I'm just concerned about the timeframes. Like, what can you actually pull together in a couple weeks? I think the people who are doing the windows all the time, they're going to be able to pull it together. But really, we want the other businesses to kind of be taking it in as well. Just a thought.
Like the thing I like about it is the whole getting businesses to use the Google ads.
Mhm.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like embracing more digital, like that's kind of a.
And really, we're at September 13th, so if we get this out by the 15th, that's a solid 2 weeks.
I forgot it was middle of September. Oh my
For them
goodness.
to,
I see what your point is. Yeah,
All over, yeah. No, yeah.
yeah. Well, the other thing we could do is the person that gets the most apples, the business that gets the most apples gets the 250 for the South Granville, or sorry, for the, what were we getting the apples for? The food.
For the food bank.
Yeah. So we
if you're
could,
concerned, you could also just extend the
Yeah.
deadline, the voting deadline
Could
to
also-
mid-October if you wanted, or.
yeah,
Or could also take the decorating contest off of this particular thing and move it
Yeah.
to the Christmas one if you want
Yeah.
to.
so like if we did the business again that had the most apples on the tree, they would get the 250.
And then just do a
And then
Christmas.
Do
I
this.
kind of like that because that gives them chance, I'm just thinking
Yeah.
about timeframes, right?
Yeah, yeah, and then we, suggested, we could move the window decorating to Christmas and have the whole,
Yeah, and that ties into the parade as well.
yeah, we'd make sure that the judging for the windows would be the parade date so that they'd be
Yeah.
ready.
They had to be
Yeah.
ready for that.
Yeah. Girl?
Pearl is just a teeny tiny box on it.
Yeah, it all sounds good. However, what about Halloween?
So Halloween, they are planning the pumpkin parade. And we're also having some conversations with community services department right now on some potentially additional activities that we could do. But don't really have a lot of details at this
Yeah.
point. So there may well be something for the BIA to get involved in for that event as well.
And like that would probably be like that last weekend in
Mhm.
October.
Yeah. I'm thinking
What
something.
about for the window decorating?
Yeah, like fall, Halloween, did you want to even make it a? That's why I was leaning more towards maybe we just make it a longer window. For the fall decorating contest. And you could almost do like a fall Halloween themed thing. Because we're thinking at this point, just initial conversations, maybe something similar to like the evening market that we had done last year. Maybe a new location though, in the vicinity of the pop-ups this time. Really just brainstorming at this point. Some Halloween themed kind of activities that the community services is looking at. So there could be, an option there. And we'll certainly be promoting that. But I would say just from a location perspective, it's not really going to be a downtown focused event for the pumpkin, you know what I mean? The pumpkin parade. Not to say we couldn't look at doing something more business focused to coincide with that timeline.
What's everybody think?
I'm
We
just
have
all-
to-
Now I'm just all confused.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the one thing that we have to look at and consider is our budget. And how much budget do we want to have for the Christmas season, right?
Yeah, what do we want to do for Christmas?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because like it's like, we want to do something for fall, we want to do something for Halloween,
Yeah,
and we want to do something for Christmas.
yeah.
But I think, going back to the earlier discussion, if you're looking at, that $15,000 reserve allocation, looking at deferring that to 2023, that also frees up, some additional funds that you could look at reallocating to the reserve for your other budget commitments and maybe bump that up to 5,000 versus 2,500 to take you through to the end of the year. Or even something closer to 35.
Well, but just thinking, so we already have the apple thing we're gonna do for fall. So instead of doing the window contest at the same time, if you push it off for more of a Halloween theme, I'm sorry, I'm biased. But no, if you have that more for Halloween, because we're lacking a little something right at the moment for Halloween. And then move into Christmas right after that. Obviously, this will come up in our next meeting or promo meeting or whatever. But
our next meeting is not until the second week of October, right? So
we have a promotions meeting between now and then.
Yeah, next Tuesday.
Yeah, I know, but that won't come back to the board until after Thanksgiving, and then Halloween is only a couple of weeks away. So then we're going to be into the same boat that we're in right now, not wanting to do the decorating for fall because it's only a 2-week window. We'll be doing the same thing with Halloween. So we kind of need to make a decision tonight.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Unless we throw the Halloween thing together tonight. Yeah, Christmas can wait till the next one probably, just to solidify anything. But yeah,
decide what you're going to do for the fall activities and decorating if you want to shift that to a.
that it allows just an extra couple weeks.
Okay, so what about,
Or why don't we split it in half,
I was just this is an idea,
right?
may work. So we have to think about what we're trying to do with the fall promotion. And that was, we really wanted to get the farmer and crafters market on the map and try and draw some vendors, right, for next year. That was a big thing. And we wanted to do some stuff for South Granville Food Bank. So we can do all of that without spending money. So if you
Yeah, we
want to
pretty
do the
much have
window,
that.
if you want to do the window decorating and use the 250 for the window decorating, you can have that Halloween theme. Because this is going to be over the 8th. The last market day is the 8th. Well, then you've got from the 8th to the 31st, everybody can decorate their windows for Halloween. They're going to have enough notice. And then we've got everybody covered. Because I'd really like to see that farmers and crafters market grow. And I really think that that's a real BIA, something that we should be focusing on. So that's my idea. What's everybody think?
No, that's pretty much on target, I would think.
No, I agree.
I think that way we're,
Covering everything.
if we do the window decorating for Halloween and community services have their events, and that ties us all into the whole thing. Okay, awesome. Who wants to make a motion?
That's not stepping on the toes of any.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I have a quick question too. Brett, did you find out if the BIA stays intact until our AGM, or is this board dissolved with the election?
So I can speak to that if you want, girl.
Yeah, please, Dana. I'm not 100% sure. It's been a while since I've thought about that.
Only because I actually had a conversation with Matthew about just that today. We were gonna update the board as part of the AGM discussion, which is coming up on the agenda if you want to defer it to then though. And just get through this section first.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So does anybody want to make a motion?
So would
I'll
it
take a
be
stab
to
at it.
defer or have that decorating contest for Halloween? So to approve $250.
Approving $250 towards
The Halloween.
Halloween decorating
Decorating
contest
contest.
versus the fall decorating.
for
contest.
digital marketing.
But I still think though that we should carry on with the whole Apple theme, like.
Yes, I think
Yeah, definitely. I still like the idea of the Apple theme as well.
whoever gets the most apples, I love that, just because then they're going to be promoting that and it's going to be top of mind.
Yeah.
And then it's just the decorating contest that we're making any changes to.
Yeah.
Could we not split instead of 250 for one event? Could we not do 125 for the fall, 125 for Halloween?
I think that would be a lot if you're actually getting into asking the businesses to do a fall themed window and then shift in another couple of weeks to the Halloween. I would personally do one or the other, and then maybe look at doing a Christmas one and maybe allocate another 250 in digital advertising to that one.
Agreed.
And just try and build that momentum, right? To
Yes.
really try and get the businesses, because your storefronts and the way they that is the draw. That's what brings people off the street. And I think, it would go along. It's a great marketing tactic that maybe a lot of them just aren't necessarily,
I'm
comfortable
a
with.
bit confused though. Are we doing 250 for the person that has the most apples, and then we're doing another 250 for the Halloween window? Is that what's on the
I
table,
think-
or?
I think we were just gonna shift and do the 250 back for the storefront decorating contest, right? That was only if we canceled the storefront decorating contest, was my understanding anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like-
and then
Okay,
no prizes then to business who gets the most apples, basically, yeah.
I think it's just participation.
Bragging rights.
Bragging rights.
Bragging rights, yeah.
Bragging rights.
Okay,
I know
good.
you're doing the right thing.
Yeah. And we can give them a little promotion through social media, like fun, you know what I mean, just.
And Christmas has the potential to be a little bigger than normal this year too. Actually, that might fall into your conversation about the BIA board too. I just thought about that when we were.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
That's why I asked, because if the board is going to change, then that's going to maybe change some of the decisions that we make.
Yeah, well, the Christmas one, that'll definitely be under a new board, so
but I think if you have.
lay some groundwork.
Yeah, like if we have a general idea, I would suggest you want to get as many plans in place as you possibly can and get them approved under the October BIA meeting.
Yeah.
Because there is that potential of losing a couple board members and we'd be running very light when it comes to quorum. So it would be difficult for the board to fully function beyond potentially that election date. So I think if that's kind of where you're headed there, Pearl, that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, so I think we've got to kind of ramp up, plan for the promotions meeting to have a lot of discussion.
Yeah.
Even an extended meeting, have a lot of discussion about and try to nail down what we want to do for Christmas as part of that, right?
Start
We've got
thinking
a
about it.
recommendation coming back to the board for their October meeting, pre-election, and then everything is set in stone and approved and good to go to carry you through to the end of the year, no matter what happens.
Okay, so
Okay.
let's make a motion. So we'll make a motion that the board allocate $250 for the Halloween downtown business decorating display.
Window display.
Window display.
Window display. Can I have a mover?
I will make, or
Kevin?
Go ahead.
Seconder? Linda? All in favor?
Aye.
And at the same time, we encourage our coordinator to do some pre-promotions for the harvest market and to engage the businesses in getting food bank donations and collecting some apples for the tree. And then we have, is the visitor center update next?
So I'm gonna jump right to
Okay.
that too.
Okay.
Okay.
jump.
I'm just gonna do a little quick update on the Museum and Visitor Center and sort of the first full summer season down there. So the 2022 tourism season, the grand opening for the Museum and Visitor Center was May 21st. It was open 7 days and staffed 7 days a week this summer. It was staffed for tours, visitor information, and our retail. I'll talk about the retail a little bit later. And over the course of the season, the museum staff reported 600 plus visitors coming in to the Museum and Visitor Center.
Nice.
So I just want to take you on a little bit of a visual tour of the Visitor Center portion itself, if you haven't been in. So this is the broad look at that side. It's when you walk in the door, it's on your right-hand side. It has our visitor information, swag, etc. So we have our up front. This is our where did your Explore Prescott Adventure Begin map, where we have people who come in. They can pin the map with where they started, where they're on their way to Prescott, and there's some pretty wild pins on there so far. You can see the kiosk iPads where people can go through the Explore or Invest Prescott websites and look at some of the resources that are available. Our fairly popular Muskoka chairs that are Adirondack chairs that are sitting at the front of the museum that we do see quite a few people stop in the visitor center and go through. One of the things that's been there from the start is our Shop Local kiosk. What we did was approach a number of local retail businesses, small businesses around town, and told them that if they wanted to supply some stuff, we could put some of their key products for sale in the visitor center, along with information on how you could find more. So I believe we have 8 businesses that are located in the Shop Local kiosk out front from across town, as well as the Shakespeare Festival has had information there since we put the kiosk together, and they have some swag that's sold in there as well. This is our Prescott tourism gear that people can purchase in the museum. You can see some of the designs. Some of them are sold out and not up there, but we also have whiskey glasses, wine glasses, 3 kinds of coffee mugs, 2 different hats for sale, the Prescott history books, the pens, shopping bags. Just a number of items that people can pick up when they're in there, along with, sorry, not gonna go there yet, that's a little thing. As well as just the general visitor information. So information on downtown Prescott, the brochures and rack cards that we have, information on places like Fort Wellington, Shakespeare Garden, Battle of the Windmills, some stuff that's outside of town, but sort of connected to Prescott. Just real visitor information coming through there. So on those two retail opportunities, I mentioned one of the things that, because my office, if you don't know, is in the back of the museum. I don't really deal with the people in the museum, but I'm in there every day. And I do get to interact with quite a few people just in passing up front. And the first thing I'd say is that I've been fairly astounded at the number of people that are there either visiting or stopping in on long car trips, day trips, popping in, coming in, getting really excited about being in Prescott. People are incredibly excited about the waterfront. They are excited about the downtown. They come in, they want more information. They get tours from the museum students. They're excited about being in there. They're grabbing pieces to take back with them. And then on more than one occasion, especially on Saturday, when I'm down there for the farmers market, I'll be talking to people who say, you know, my friends were driving through and they stopped here and they told us about it. And now we're here from Ottawa or Montreal for the day with your family. So we had those two retail spaces in the Museum and Visitor Center, and the shop local kiosk, we have sold. I had Elizabeth check this morning, and since the start of the season, there's been $1,200 in local goods sold off the shop local kiosk, and that's funds that go back to the businesses and also sort of direct people to those businesses where they can find more. And we have sold about $3,200 worth of Prescott swag in the museum, and that is with not really being fully stocked until the long weekend in August, and selling out of most of the sizes of the Prescott clothing by the middle of August. So there are a lot of people going through. There are a lot of people excited to buy something, take it in, not just people who live here coming in to grab a Prescott sweater, but a lot of people who are visiting. We were able to price everything that's in there, I think, very reasonably. The t-shirts are $15, the sweaters are $20.
That's good.
And yeah, I have, I guess, honestly, been to a degree surprised just by the number of people that come in on a daily basis into there, not for the museum tours and for visitors information.
Can you update us, Justin? What are the fall hours going to be there?
So it is open in the fall, Thursday to Saturday, 11 till 5.
Okay.
And that definitely, seems to coincide with our highest traffic levels. That's certainly when we get the largest majority of visitors in. So, and we're getting a lot of traction online too. Like I was just looking at the level of engagement that we're getting through the Explore platforms, through, like the Google Places listing, through the website. It's, we're really developing a good online presence as well, which I think is, also helps, because a lot of people, try to plan these things out when they are visiting in a community and to get a sense of what's there. And, I think that's been a really good support to have. And we're really looking at building out, more and more of those promotions all the time. So even we are still looking at an e-commerce option as well. That's something that we wanted to do for, quite a long time now. It's something that also has, I think it's something that you have to really think about strategically, because, initially we were thinking, let's go e-commerce and put all of this merchandise and swag out there for anyone to purchase no matter where they are. But in some of the initial research that I've done, I'm finding a lot of, the bigger tourist destinations, they're not doing that. And they purposely don't do that, because that's the whole point, is they're trying to encourage people to come and see and experience. And if you can buy a hoodie from the comfort of your own home, it makes it less likely, I would say, that maybe you'll get in your car and you'll come visit that place. Or So we're just kind of debating that and really doing a little bit more research to see what is the best way to approach this when it comes to the e-commerce platform. Certainly get, some inquiries, but it's, just deciding, or maybe having a limited number of items, right? So it's just very limited to get the full selection, then you've really got to come in person. So we'll have, I think, more direction on that coming forward, but we're just kind of reviewing what others are doing, what the best practices are out there.
Yeah. And then it's considering what your end game is. Is your end game to sell Prescott merch, or is your end game to get people to come to Prescott?
Exactly.
Right.
And that's the other thing too. Like, we aren't necessarily in the retail business per se. And I can tell you, just managing just the time, this is a ton of time. And if it wasn't for Elizabeth, like, I feel bad for Elizabeth because that has been fully dumped on her. She is the one that has to take sole responsibility for managing that, the sales reports, the inventory, keeping me informed as to when we need to be ordering more stock. And it's a lot. And then to get into an online store and the shipping and the packaging and everything that goes with that. So we're also researching that too, to make sure that the cost isn't, a huge deterrent in itself, just to ship these things out. So we'll see. We need more staff. Maybe that's what we need to do.
Does anybody have any comments?
It looks amazing.
Yeah, definitely.
It really
Have
looks
you been in
amazing.
yet?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, you've seen it in the flesh.
Yep.
And it's always changing too. Like, we're
Yeah.
always keeping it.
Yeah, there's always something different.
Elizabeth has really taken on the responsibility for the window as well. So really keeping the window as fresh as possible with new content, promotions, if there's things going on. Yeah, it's been really well received too, from businesses and visitors.
Good.
Yeah.
That's good. So moving along, the lighting update.
No update,
No
really. We
update.
just kind of left it as a bit of a step, because I am expecting, I just think probably within the next month, we should have maybe the frames
Oh,
ready,
good.
and then we can start playing around with some lighting options and seeing what they look like in person. So things are progressing, no concerns or anything. I'm sure that they are working away, welding their lighthouses together in the factory.
That's good. Town beautification updates.
Were those the benches? Were
So
those
this
the
would be
planters?
concerning the planter
The
benches
planters.
and the trees on the
Yes.
promenade.
So a quick update, the trees have been removed on Edward Street between King and Water. And the sidewalk work will begin this fall. So that is in progress. I'm not sure if you noticed, I think the trees just came down last week. It's amazing the difference, and it just looked so much more open. It was just immediately noticeable to me when I rounded the corner. So they've come down, and the benches, so if you'll recall, we had taken the old benches that were done, that had the really neat concrete downtown streetscape inlay, and constructed some new planters using those concrete pieces. They haven't actually, they look, they have a nice aesthetic, but they aren't functioning as planters. So they've had to go back to the drawing board. They're looking at some other options for ways that they could integrate the concrete pieces from the previous benches in some other shape or form. We're even talking, I had a discussion with Phil the other day about maybe even finding a way to incorporate them somehow in the clock tower planting bed by the tree, or even the clock tower itself, because they are, they're lovely pieces, but I don't, and the general consensus was they also really don't do them justice by having them the way that those planters worked out. So, they simply just weren't functional. So they are coming up with some new ideas. We'll have an update to bring forward to the board for consideration and input at a future date. But I think, they really, and if you look at them now, the way the foliage has grown, that was another big concern too, is they were going to disappear halfway through the season and get covered by the plants that they're putting in the planters. Because if you drive by and look at them now, that foliage is dangling right down to the sidewalk. So you wouldn't be able to see them anyways. So leave it with us. They have not disappeared. They are going to be reintegrated into something else because they simply weren't functional as part of those planters. And we did, I don't know what your actual opinion was on them, but we did receive quite a bit of, not negative feedback, but just feedback in general that just said, you know, they had a bit of an awkward look to them. They didn't seem as intentional, I think, as people really wanted them to be. So I think we could probably do, you know, find a better option to really get them displayed prominently. So update to come, but if there are concerns or suggestions at this point that the board wants to provide, we're more than open to any feedback that you can offer at this point.
Okay. Anyone? Okay.
We should, just before we move on to the main section, just, I guess, 2 more things. First one is Small Business Week's coming up in October. So we are planning a bit of a social media campaign. Elizabeth is going to put together, I don't know if everyone has seen on TikTok, the 73 question videos, or I guess it's not TikTok, YouTube. Yeah. So we're going to try to do 5 questions with local businesses, walking around some of the small businesses downtown.
That's a great idea.
And put those up on TikTok as sort of our.
What am I looking up now?
So like it's Vogue, right?
Yeah.
It does it. It's Vogue magazine, and they'll walk into like Gigi Hadid. And,
house.
And they'll say, you know, what's your favorite book? What's your favorite food? Like just things like that. And they just, but you have to answer like right away. It's just like snap, 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 snap. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
And give you kind of an intimate look into and the questions will be business focused.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for Small Business Week, I think we really want to do something that includes marketing for the business, but is also just oriented to the idea of the people that are running the businesses and and those stories. Last year we did we did a series of just static posts talking to people, answering questions, and so this year we can do a little more of a video thing to catch people's eyes. And secondly, we would like to plan to host a business networking event at the museum during the Small Business Week, perhaps get a couple small business people to give little short speeches, talks about operating businesses in downtown Prescott, and then have a bit of a networking event through the museum. We have a really nice space there, and we can get quite a few people in, and we even think we might be able to pull off having some live music in there. A little weird, but I think we might be able to put something like that in there, and
a little acoustic
guitar at the back. So that's something that we sort of just recently started looking at doing, but we'll be doing for.
And that would be the whole town, like all of the businesses in town, right? Okay.
More of a general networking event, but locally downtown.
Yeah, no, that's
more of a economic development, business development office initiative, but obviously the downtown is really the main thrust of this.
It would be for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
This will just be Prescott?
Yes, I would say for this one, certainly would love to branch out maybe and.
I was just kind of wondering.
I was just waiting.
I think there's still opportunities there to maybe have those broader discussions and look at some events maybe with the chamber.
No, definitely.
Come up before,
Yeah, absolutely. But like if this is really focused on this, then obviously the chamber is going to be involved in it, but and we'll promote it, obviously.
But I think it could certainly lead to maybe some of those broader collaborations. And
exactly.
Also the Augusta, Prescott, and Edwardsburg Cardinal now, the Tri-Council initiative that we're partnering on. I think you'll see a lot of discussions coming out of those and just ideas for partnering, whether it be on business events, recreation and tourism initiatives. You know, we're even talking about potential farmers market partnerships that could happen there too. So yeah. No lack of ideas, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, and honestly believe that along this corridor, it's always been about collaboration.
Yeah. And I think that we are much greater, it's the sum of all parts.
Agreed.
Really makes us
Agreed.
greater, and, you know, Prescott brings something to the table and the townships bring something to the table that together makes us that destination.
Much better. Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm very excited about this. This is something that we've talked about for quite some time, and just also embracing business development week a lot more. It's, again, this all goes back to capacity, right? Now we actually have the staff in place to be able to really embrace these things and rally around them and hopefully make them, you know, a real benefit for the businesses, which is the real focus of.
What week was that?
I
October
believe it's the
17th.
17th to 24th. I think it's the second last week in October.
That's what's coming up for on my calendar. I need to set a reminder for. Apparently I didn't.
Finally, brought it up quite a few times, but as I think we've mentioned here tonight, we'll all be at the plowing match next week in North Grenville. There'll be a Prescott booth in the United Counties tent there, so we'll have a lot of Prescott information, a lot of Riverwalk District information. We will have mannequins, but won't be selling our sway. We will have some info on little attractions here. We'll also be doing shop local draws each day. So we'll be going around to some small businesses to purchase things to go into some gift baskets for draws for people who are going through there and are taking part in a local goods table with the United Counties. So we're approaching and getting some goods from local artisans to farmers market vendors, etc., to include in that table of what's created in Leeds Grenville. So if you are in North Grenville next week, you should definitely come to the plowing match.
I'm there Thursday and Saturday.
Or you're there already?
Sorry?
You're there already?
Yeah.
Perfect.
So I'll come visit you guys.
Beautiful.
Bring my little entourage with me.
Does the chamber have a?
No, this is a work thing. Yeah, BMO is one of the primary sponsors.
Mhm.
It's a very well attended event. It will be a really good opportunity.
I've heard the international, like usually I only get to go to like the little tiny ones where everyone just ignores you, but the international ones apparently are just something to see.
Yeah.
So I'm really super excited to see this. I'm so glad
This will
that,
be your first plowing match.
oh no, I've been to
Okay.
years of plowing matches, but like the local ones.
Yes.
I haven't been to an
International.
international.
Totally
Yeah.
different scale, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're gonna have a great booth. We've got a lot of just different Prescott, features incorporated in that too, between, diving, some of the Shakespeare festival's gonna be there with a display and a lot of different organizations participating, so. Lots of giveaways.
Good. Agenda items, 9A, new member recruitment. And Dina, did you want to speak to the election, like how that's all going to work?
Certainly. So I just had a discussion with Matthew today for the election. Because this is a council year, we do have to elect an entire new board. That is not to say that members can't sit on the board for another term, but you've got to go through that formal nomination and election process again. So that will follow immediately, well, not immediately, but should follow pretty shortly thereafter the council election. So what we're proposing is to move our AGM up to January this year. As you'll probably recall, it fell in May this year. And really, that was just the product of pandemic, some other things that it's just kind of gradually been shifting a little bit over the past few years. I think we used to hold it in about February. So we'll try and maybe if the board's open to this, have an AGM in January. The financials, the actual audited financials won't be ready, but we will have the financials done, at least ready for the January AGM. And at that point, you could do your election. So we would suggest putting a call out for nominations in December, pretty much coming out of, within a month of the council election, and get those members in place as soon as possible in January. And then they would sit, their term would coincide with council for the next 4 years. That's not to say there can't be changes. We've had, many changes to the board in the past 4 years, some resignations, new members coming on. I think we had an interim election even at one point. So, that doesn't stop us from recruiting new members as required. But it's it's just kind of coincides with council that automatically gets renewed. The one potential complication that could come out of this is we do have 2 current members of our board running for council. The minimum member requirement for the board is 9. So if, potentially both nominees are elected, we could lose 2 people from our board. And we also have another member who's really just kind of been staying on over the past few months, but has given notice of her intended resignation. I'm sure that Dawn will probably stay on till the end of the year. I think she's committed to do that, especially if we do have number issues. But regardless, if we do, if the elections work in that favor, we're going to be down to 6 members. So we would no longer have a functioning board at that point. So that's where I'm kind of suggesting to make sure that we get any key decisions made pre-election, because you could essentially be in a, lame duck position, I guess, for lack of a better word, until you hold your election and get your full membership back in place. I'm sure there's workarounds that we can, come up with if, as the need arises, certainly, but I would just try to plan for that outcome, and then you're covered if it should end up happening.
Uh, 9B, and the support services available to vulnerable individuals. And that was attached with the agenda package. That's exactly what I was talking about at the last.
Good.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at, like that. And then just keeping the lines of communication open.
I think we just, we just included that for information purposes, really. If it sparks any discussion, feedback here. I was just taking a look at it. We could bring it back for discussion at the next BIA meeting if any members had any suggestions or ideas coming out of that. But I think it really provides a good summary of what the process is and what supports are in place, and what's happening behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Just for people to know, even as a board, if you're being questioned, at least now you can speak better.
There's an answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the hardest part, was being asked. And well, I guess when you pay attention to the meetings and stuff, but it was still hard to answer the question. Like, what are they doing? And I know there's certain things in place, and sometimes those things aren't in place until somebody's actually arrested. But knowing that there's services out there and you can tell people this is what's can be done, and good to have an answer.
And it certainly was a good exercise, but it was that, gave the opportunity to maybe relook at all of these resources and get a better sense of what is available, and better able to, and get them in a position to respond in a timely manner as required, with appropriate measures. So I think it was certainly a learning opportunity for everyone, and hopefully the board, sees this as a good resource moving forward, And it's, you know, of course, that line of communication is always open, so if there are questions or concerns moving forward, our CAO or council is always there to provide support or get you the answers that you need to be able to communicate on to deal with those public inquiries.
That's great. I lost my agenda. Committee roundtable, new business from members. I did what we forgot. I did remember something we forgot to do. I'd like to make a motion to do the $500 to the fire, to the Christmas parade.
Oh,
I forgot to do that.
Yeah.
oops.
You can do
Yeah.
that here. There'd be no reason you couldn't do that right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd like to make a motion that BIA donate $500 for the Santa Claus Christmas parade.
Second.
Linda's mover, Jeannie seconder. All in favor?
Aye.
Because it would be nice to give it to them ahead of time instead of after the time.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
What bylaw are we discussing?
So that was on there to sort of have a discussion, because remember, there was a desire to have Sean come.
Oh, yeah.
And we'd like to give him a bit of a general.
Warning.
Guidance as to what, like, you know, cover what he's gonna be questioned about, so we can have.
He can be prepared.
Whether it be property standards, you know, the vacancy, registration bylaw.
Both of those.
Yeah, it's probably a mixture of the two, I think, for the most part.
Process for bylaw, you know, for communicating concerns, complaints, we could have him address that as well. You know, maybe even take you through what is available, like what can be done, what issues can be addressed.
That might be
Like
the,
maybe that's a good way to even,
Like,
maybe the BIA even wants to kind of shortlist, like, these are some of the concerns. Are there bylaws available to address them, or, you know, a conversation that can be had with bylaw on that, you know,
Yeah.
whether it be property standards, or there may be amendments that can be looked at
Yeah.
to existing bylaws, to maybe start addressing some of these things that we feel can't necessarily be addressed through existing bylaws. That might be a way to approach it as well.
but yeah, definitely property standards.
yeah, and basically how
And like maybe even like take us through what happens when somebody calls you, like if they make a complaint or if they have a concern, how's that all work? In terms of like a timeline, and I realize that not everything can have the same.
yeah, well,
I would also
response,
suggest
but-
maybe just a quick summary of how the new vacancy
Yeah.
registration bylaw works.
yeah. I think he did describe it to us
He
once,
did, yeah.
but that was kind of when it was being,
Just kind of.
I think it was still being drafted, yeah.
So maybe now that it's in place,
Yeah,
just some quick facts even.
yeah, like has there been any, like, so just refresh my memory, when did it come into place?
So I think it was June, and Brett or Mayor Todd, sorry, you would.
He left.
Oh, is he gone? Okay. I want to say June,
Okay,
that it was actually formally adopted, because it's been about the past 2 months that they've really actually gone in, like they've actually.
I've seen
been
that.
doing inspections. So they're,
okay,
yeah, it's being implemented as we speak, and I think, you know, we're already seeing some really positive results.
good.
Yeah, I think like, how does that work with what are the current standards?
Yes.
And how does enforcement work? Like, I know it's constantly the complaint driven thing, but we have someone out who is a bylaw, I don't know if the term officer is the right word, but they're out and about on the weekends. I see them, but yet we know there's issues and some of them don't get dealt with. So why?
And maybe trying to define what bylaws or what aspects of bylaws are something that should be immediately enforced upon observation, right? Like, there are some that make sense for each.
Oh, yeah.
Should be enforced.
Yeah.
And maybe, you know, a recommendation that we take a different approach from an enforcement standpoint on some of these critical ones that we feel, you know, as a BIA, should that really require someone to, you know, initiate a formal complaint, or can it simply be dealt with as we're observing these things happening?
Yeah, and then
It's a fine, you know, it's, it's a difficult.
Honey, I'm freezing. I'm gonna have to have a bath. Should we turn the AC off or?
Some will say, you know, you're targeting, at that point, then it becomes targeted, right? So that's why bylaws, just to kind of put yourself in their shoes. And that's why you see that in a lot of municipalities, it being a very complaint-driven process, because then it can be misinterpreted as I'm being targeted over another. Why are you hitting me with this bylaw? And I see so and Joe Blow doing it all the time. And then it's just a mudslinging thing and bylaws chasing.
Yeah, you're gonna get that to a level probably anyways, but
You are.
yeah, this isn't, I don't think this is about picking one over another. I think it's about a blanket problem.
Yes, and when there's certain bylaws being broken and they're obvious, you know, there needs to be a little bit of gray area here.
Yeah, and it'd be interesting to know what their boundaries are too, because I'm sure they have boundaries that they have to respect too, for whatever the reason, right?
So at least maybe Sean can speak to that and say if there is an option for them to do some more direct enforcement through a bylaw, then let's have that conversation. And if there isn't, then so be, but at least we can have the conversation, right?
And you never know, like, what each department, like, everybody's always trying to improve, right? So we don't know what behind the scenes, they may want to do something different, but just aren't at that point yet. So,
Or aren't, you know, from a legislation standpoint, aren't able to.
that's right.
You know, a lot of these times they're very regulated.
Yeah, there's stuff we may not know.
No.
That's.
Yeah, so sometimes it's just a matter.
But if we can be a force behind change, I mean, that's something we've tried to focus on for years. I mean, and obviously this program that they're doing is definitely a start, and nice to see more.
And this is also, you know, this could turn into an all-night conversation. I don't want to do that.
Oh, yeah, easily.
But yeah, it's a certain onus on us, and I think, you know, now that we're at a spot where maybe we have more capacity, there are initiatives and things that we can do from an economic development department to try and address these things, right? Like, you know, coming up with some panels or things that we can assist when vacancies do come up. We can help support that. We can use some mock window, you know, displays, those type of things, right? That maybe through some of those activities, we can help support that or easily address some of those concerns ourselves and eventually get to the point where property owners start doing it on their own, right?
Right, yeah.
But I don't think it's necessarily all bylaw. I think there's certainly things that we could look at putting in place to help support them.
Okay, does anybody else have anything new?
Quick update, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Just waiting at the beginning of the meeting. There was a question about coordinator hours. So you've got 82 hours left to the end of the year. So you're.
And I just had a quick question. Did I say all in favor for the motion for the fire department?
Yes.
Okay, because I actually wrote all in favor on my agenda tonight because I always forget that. Okay, motion for adjournment. Could I have a mover, Linda, and a seconder? All in favor?
Did you take the promotions meeting?
Oh, and sorry, could we, I was going to ask, do we have the promotions meeting on the 27th instead of the 20th?
That makes sense because you're not, I
Don't have
think you're deferring your
beautification.
beautification to 2023, right?
Yeah.
You spent all your physical
Yeah,
dollars.
that'd be perfect.
Okay, 27th it is.
So that's promotion.
Okay.
instead. Either way, all in favor, me, yeah.
Thank you, everyone. We are adjourned.